So the first speaker that I'm going to bring up today is the president of the San Francisco 49ers, Guido.
No?
Yes.
All right, I'm on now. I can be loud. I was a 5'8" quarterback, so I can yell out a play every once in a while. First and foremost, let me thank SAMCEDA, let me thank Sherry, let me thank Roseanne. Thank you all for allowing me to be here. Give yourselves a round of applause for a great event. So on your bio sheets, raise your hand if you're from the Bay Area and a 49ers fan. All right, there's a lot of you. So don't look down at my bio, I promise. I work for the Dallas Cowboys. You're allowed to boo. It's okay. All right. Roseanne said something that was interesting to me, and I like to take notes as I go. She said that SAMCEDA is about weaving a county together. And when I got to the San Francisco 49ers 8 years ago, I thought about how do we weave a region together. And just to back up a little bit of how we got to Santa Clara, for those of you who all raise your hand as 49ers fans, you'll know that we passed 2 ballot measures, not while I was here, but in the past, to build a stadium in San Francisco. And there was a lot of debate around where the 49ers might go, and are the 49ers moving? And our owner, Jed York, used to talk about franchises that were moving, and obviously they grew up in Ohio, same with Eddie D, and the Cleveland Browns once moved. That's moving. We felt as though, obviously, to build a stadium that we were trying to get done, which is 2 million square feet, $1.3 billion, that was not just going to be about 10 games. We needed to look at the overall infrastructure and where we could go. And so my job when I first got on board was I was part of a large consulting firm that went around the country looking at stadiums. I had worked on now the Atlanta Falcons, the LA buildings. I had worked on the Dallas Cowboys. I'd worked on Manchester City. I've worked all over the world in how do we get buildings done, how do we make them economically viable outside of just their 10, or hopefully in all of our cases, because we're 49ers fans, 12 home games a year. And to do that, we thought Santa Clara was the perfect spot. We have a number of partners here in the room that help us pull those off. And Levi's Stadium, if you think about the great brands, the 49ers are a tremendous brand. They're the 5-time Super Bowl champions, as we all know. But at Candlestick Park, we were in an old venue. And I often ask people to raise their hands if they had great times and they have great memories of Candlestick Park. Everyone raises their hands. If they say, how was the traffic and transportation and food and everything else, those hands go down. And that's not to knock the venue. Obviously, it was an older building that wasn't renovated. And the simple thing I always tell people is think about this math equation. Before it was the San Francisco 49ers, it was a 35,000-seat ballpark. And there were how many roads in and out? Does anybody know? 2. They added 35,000 seats on the upper deck. Does anybody know how many roads were in and out? 2. So that math equation wasn't going to work for very long. And on top of that, the San Francisco 49ers, to be competitive, were actually 31st or 30th in revenue across the entire NFL. It's hard to believe, right? 5-time Super Bowl champions. Candlestick Park wasn't hosting major events. You'd host a concert here and there, but for the most part, those events would either go to Oracle Arena or SAP in San Jose or AT&T Ballpark. So for us, we had to take a step back and say, what's the best thing for the San Francisco 49ers and the overall region, given what we want to become? And a stadium had not been built in California. Does anybody know how many years? 50. 50 years. It's very difficult to do. It's very difficult to do in this region, as we all know, right? Public taxpayer funds, there wasn't an appetite for it. The San Francisco Giants did a fantastic job privately financing a building. We wanted to do something similar. We wanted to partner with someone in the region that could help us pull that off. Because we knew that if we did it right, now, mind you, if we did Q&A, I could tell you a lot of things we haven't done right. If we did it right, that we would spur economic growth more than any other venue in the world. And I think we've done that. So when we opened up the building, our goal was for the building to have a brand unto itself. And if you think about the really great venues in our life, sports or outside of sports, I'll name some in the sports world, You think about Wrigley Field. You think about Fenway Park. You think about Yankee Stadium. You think about Madison Square Garden. Those are brands unto themselves. Those are sports and entertainment hubs, right? They are meccas. They are destination events or destination buildings that people want to go to. So how do we build a stadium that not just hosts 49ers games, but how do we build a stadium that becomes one of those? And for us, it was, first and foremost, traffic and transportation. Where do we want to be? The VTA has been a great partner. We do up to 15 to 18% ridership on game day, and I believe that number will increase over time. We believe the infrastructure with the hotels and convention centers in the areas around Santa Clara help us put on large-scale events. Taking a step back for a second, you used to need 3 things to host a Super Bowl. Does anybody know what those 3 things are? You can yell them out. All right, so you need a stadium, that's one. I heard in the front there was airport, which I would just say is infrastructure. Let's just say infrastructure. So hotels, airports, convention centers. There's a third one, which is actually unique to what we just walked in from. Good weather. Technically, the 3 things that you needed was a stadium, a certain amount of infrastructure, which is not broadly, but specifically defined as 20,000 hotel rooms within about a 20-mile radius of the venue. And the third one was an average temperature of 55 degrees or above at kickoff. That was it. And the last stadium, or the last Super Bowl held in the Bay Area is now this one you should know, is what? Minus Super Bowl 50. 1984 in Stanford. So when the NFL, which by the way, the 49ers played in and won. So when the NFL did away with college venues and became NFL venues, those were the 3 criteria that you needed to host a Super Bowl. Obviously, we thought we could pull off all 3 of those given our infrastructure. And what does that mean? So for us, we've hosted 39 large-scale events since we opened up Levi Stadium just 3.5 years ago. We've hosted the Super Bowl. We're about to host the Gold Cup. We've hosted Copa America, which is one of the world's largest soccer tournaments. We host the Pac-12 Championship. We've hosted WrestleMania for all of those inspiring wrestling fans. We hosted the NHL outdoor game, which speaks to the strength of the San Jose Sharks as a market. A non-traditional hockey market in the Bay Area hosted 70,000 people in Santa Clara. We're about to host the 2019 College Football National Championship game. All of these events, just these events alone, either total up or anticipated to bring $750 million of economic impact to this region. Thank you. So we couldn't do that without your support. We couldn't do that with infrastructure. We couldn't do that without our partners. We couldn't do that with a forward-thinking approach as to what the venue was going to be, not just today, but 30 years from now. And for those of you who go down to the venue, I'll be the first one to tell you, we haven't figured it all out. We've struggled on the field. It's the obvious. We've struggled off the field. Operationally, it's been a challenge. And I'll tell you why. We employ 4,000 people on game day. Most people, we actually are a small company. Our employee staff size is roughly only about 375 people. But on a game day alone, it's 4,000. We are working in a city, and this is not a knock, that had not pulled off a major event. Obviously in the city of San Francisco, those happen, quote unquote, every day, right? In the city of San Jose, those are happening today with the Apple conference. Our city was a smaller city that had not pulled off a major event to that size. That's one reason. The second reason, any of you ever moved into a new home or bought an apartment? I'm sure all of you. Can you find your fork or knife day 2? Probably not, right? You're scrambling. So think about 4,000 part-time employees in a 2 million square foot radius, or 2 million square foot building, trying to tell people where to go with about 2 months to prepare. It's almost near impossible. And then think about that on the scale of we're trying to bring 70,000 people in an area within about a 30-minute time frame who have never maybe come down to the venue in and of itself. So we have a lot of things that we have to work through, and we'll get there, and we're getting better every single day. And for us, it became, obviously those are the challenges of today. The opportunities of tomorrow, there's a 250-acre development that's happening north of us right on the golf course. For all of you who love the ballpark, and I am one of them, China Basin 15 years ago when the Giants opened to what it is today is very different. And we need to take a long view of what that looks like. Sherry said that the middle does a lot of things, right? I often tell our season ticket holders when we were moving, because I understand that it's, at times it became tough, right? The San Francisco moniker. We still are the San Francisco 49ers. 7% of our season ticket holders lived in San Francisco. The majority of them were in the middle. 7% of them lived in San Francisco when we played in San Francisco. So a lot of our decision was around what's going to be best long term, what's going to spur economic development. If you look at what the San Francisco 49ers have done just in Santa Clara, TOT taxes are up over 30% since the year that we opened. Hotel occupancy rates are off the charts. Economic development is fantastic. Right? We continue to win large-scale events that are outside the 49ers landscape. So I think we're doing a great job there. The second piece, before I get to the last piece, which is football, is what do we want to be to the community? The 49ers they're more than just the 10 games we play or the large-scale events that we host. We're in your community day in and day out. What I love most about our players, most of our players will probably retire or be done playing football prior to their 28th birthday. So yes, they love football, but they're passionate about a number of things. Their passion goes to things inside and outside of the community that they are committed to day in and day out. What are we, the 49ers, committed to? The 49ers Foundation, which is now up for the third year in a row for the ESPN Sports Humanitarian Team of the Year Award, has committed over $30 million in the 25 years of its existence. We have an education program on our actual footprint. We've created a STEAM curriculum. We have 8 full-time teachers. We engage 60,000 kids, K through 8, fully funded by the San Francisco 49ers 365 days a year. We've done our best to expand that platform into your classrooms or into your kids' classrooms. I have 3 daughters, 8, 6, and 4. And what it means to be, I get the greatest job. I get to work for a sports and entertainment company. I walk onto a field every day. It's pretty easy. What you do is really change the world. But how do we take our brand? How do we take our sports affinity? How do we take the love of the game and build it into the classroom? How do we show that Joe Montana's spiral goes further than somebody else's wobbly duck, right? There's a lot of science in that. And so we've partnered with folks like the Khan Academy to deliver our curriculum, the 49ers' own written curriculum, online to every single kid in the Bay Area community so that they can learn STEAM elements taught to them via the concepts of sport and/or stadium design. The third part, and I'll leave you with because you're all 49ers fans, is we know we're about football games. We know we're about winning Super Bowls. We know what's important to all of you. We know we have to do those other 2 things, be in the community, be great partners, bring big events here. That is our responsibility. What we love and what I love about sports. As you can see by my stature, I was never big enough to play in the NFL. What we love about sports, and what we hope we can all have you down at Levi's to do, is the immediate impact with the person right next to you, a complete stranger. I challenge anyone in the world, like people think about sports as a dying breed, or they talk about ratings, or they talk about obviously the injuries, and all of that stuff needs to be debated. But the one thing you can't debate is the passion and energy around sports and what it does to people. Most of you are probably coffee drinkers. You walked inside of a coffee shop today. I won't pick any one. But you walked inside a coffee shop today, you stared down at your phone until you got to the cashier, and then you ordered your drink, and you stared down at your phone until you got your drink. Sports You can be inside a stadium. As long as that person's wearing red and gold next to you and you're cheering for red and gold, if a good play happens, you're high-fiving with that individual the next second. Name me another place that happens. And so I'm really excited about this coming football season. I think what you're going to find, we hired John Lynch as our general manager. Obviously played at Stanford, played under Bill Walsh. They call him, Steve Young calls him the adopted son. They've brought him into the community, into the family. We've hired Kyle Shanahan. For those of you, obviously 49ers fans, you know of Mike Shanahan, the fact that he coached under Bill Walsh, the fact that he was here when we won a Super Bowl in 1994, 1995. Kyle talks about being a ball boy in Redwood City when we were in Redwood City doing our training camp. We had 10 draft picks this year. We drafted 2 guys that were arguably in the top 5 of any board out there. So we're committed to getting back. We know what it means. I was down at the Warriors game last night with my wife, having a lot of fun. And don't get me wrong, I'm rooting for them hard, but there's a part of me that says, man, I can't wait till we get back there. And we will. And so with that, I'll just probably end it, and if we have a chance for questions and answers, I'll be around the rest of the day. But I just want to thank you all for doing the big things that matter the most to us. And we are willing, as your partner, to engage in any conversation that you want to have, because we feel that we obviously are a beacon into the community. We're there to spur economic growth. We're there to deal with the tough challenges that exist today. Obviously, Caltrain is a fantastic partner, and they've done a great job. And how do we fix these large-scale issues? And we're your partner in those, because to fix those means it actually helps us too. It helps bring these events into the region. And so we're here to be involved with you, to campaign alongside of you, to deal with these big tackling issues, and at the same time, we're there to win football games. And I think what I leave you with is it's important for us that you know, of course, our mission, our vision is to always be a Super Bowl champion. Our why is to go a step further for someone so that they feel part of our family at the 49ers. So if we can ever do that for any one of you, please reach out. Thank you very much for the time.